If you want to be seen as powerful, respected, and truly confident, your words must carry the same energy as your ambition. You could wear the sharpest suit, hold the highest title, or have the most brilliant ideas in the room. But if your words don't reflect strength, certainty, and presence, people won't follow you. They'll overlook you. I've spent years working alongside top executives, observing how they move, how they speak, and how they command attention without ever raising their voice. And I realized something simple but profound. People who are heard don't speak more, they speak better. They don't chase approval, they project authority. They don't talk to fill silence. They use silence to make their words louder. In this journey of growth and communication mastery, there are 5 powerful skills that separate true leaders from those who simply blend into the background. These aren't just speaking tricks. They're mindset shifts that change how you see yourself and how the world responds to you. 1. Speak to lead, not to be liked. Most people speak to please others. They sugarcoat, soften, or second-guess their words just to sound agreeable. But leaders don't do that. They speak to lead. This is one of the hardest but most liberating shifts you can make. When you stop craving validation and start communicating with purpose, everything changes. You no longer speak just to be accepted. You speak to move people toward clarity, action, and vision. Leadership begins in your language. Every word you say either adds to your credibility or takes away from it. When you say, "I think we should," you sound unsure. When you say, "The best path forward is," you sound decisive. The difference is subtle, but it's powerful. People follow certainty, not hesitation. Great leaders don't wait for someone to hand them authority. They speak like they already have it. That confidence isn't arrogance. It's alignment. They believe in their message. They mean what they say. And they never use fillers to make their truth more digestible. Remember this. Confidence doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from owning your voice. Say less, but mean every word. Speak with clarity, conviction, and calm certainty. That's how you stop sounding like an employee and start being seen as a leader. 2. Control your emotions before they control you. We live in a world where emotions run wild, in meetings, in relationships, in crises. But here's the truth. High emotion equals low clarity. When your feelings dictate your tone, your logic disappears. The more reactive you are, the less control you have. And people can sense it instantly. Emotion can make your words shaky, your tone defensive, your message confused. But when you're calm, you exude command. You make others feel safe. Think of yourself as a blade of grass, not a toothpick. When pressure falls on grass, it bends and springs back, flexible yet unbreakable. But a toothpick? It snaps. That's what happens when you let anger, ego, or frustration drive your speech. You break under pressure. Great leaders master emotional balance. They can stand in a storm and speak as if it's a clear day. They don't let offense or excitement distort their logic. They process, they pause, and then they respond with precision. That's true strength. Because here's the truth. No one will trust a leader who can't trust their own emotions. Control your emotions, and your presence will multiply in power. 3. Speak with authority, not volume. Authority isn't about speaking the most. It's about speaking with weight. When a true leader enters a room, they don't need to dominate the conversation. Their words carry gravity. They speak with focus, intention, and clarity, and that's what earns them respect. Every conversation you enter is a chance to make an impact. But if you don't know why you're speaking, or even why you're in that room, your words lose value. Leaders never wander into meetings clueless. They go in with purpose. They ask themselves, what's my target here? What value am I adding? When you speak from a place of purpose, people stop interrupting you. You don't have to fight for attention. You naturally command it. Remember, authority is not about status. It's about self-awareness. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and ideas are valuable and treating them as such. So before your next conversation, take a moment. Know your reason. Know your goal. Walk in with intention, and you'll speak with natural authority. 4. Become a question master. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. The best communicators are detectives of truth. They don't assume, they inquire. They know that every complex problem hides beneath layers of misunderstanding, and the only way to uncover it is to ask, explore, and clarify. Imagine a tangled necklace. You can't yank it apart. You have to find one knot at a time, patiently loosening it until the chain runs free. That's what great leaders do in every conversation. They untangle complexity by asking the right questions. Instead of "what do you think?" ask, "what data supports this?" Instead of "can we fix this?" ask, "what would it take to make sure this never happens again?" Those kind of questions reveal depth, not just curiosity. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your results. The more precise your inquiry, the more intelligent your solutions become. That's why great communicators don't dominate discussions. They guide them with questions that open minds and move ideas forward. 5. Stop oversharing. Speak, then stop. Here's the final truth. Over-explaining kills authority. We've all done it. Filling silence with more words because we're afraid of sounding harsh, uncertain, or too direct. But every unnecessary sentence weakens your point. The more you talk, the more it sounds like you're convincing yourself. Confident people speak with precision. They say what they mean, they stop, and they let silence do the rest. Silence, in fact, is one of the most powerful tools a leader can use. It shows control. It forces others to lean in and listen. Think of your words like a plane landing. It should touch down smoothly and stop, not circle endlessly in the sky. Oversharing is circling. Confident communication lands. Body language plays a role too. Sit tall, shoulders back. Look people in the eye. Use your hands with purpose. Speak from your chest, not your throat. Even if your confidence isn't fully developed yet, your posture can lead the way. Soon, your body will teach your mind what confidence feels like. And don't whisper your opinions. Project them. Speak at a volume that matches your certainty. Because when your voice shrinks, your authority disappears. If you truly master these 5 skills, speaking to lead, controlling your emotions, communicate with authority, asking better questions, and ending oversharing, you will walk into any room and instantly command attention without even trying. These skills don't just make you sound smarter. They make you feel stronger, grounded, and capable. People naturally gravitate toward those who project certainty. It's not about dominating others or speaking the loudest. It's about carrying yourself with clarity and conviction. When you speak to lead, your words have direction. They move people. They leave impact. And when you combine that direction with emotional control, your presence transforms from ordinary to magnetic. When you communicate like a leader, you realize that silence is just as powerful as speech. You learn that pauses aren't empty. They're full of meaning. You begin to understand that the most powerful people don't rush to fill every gap in a conversation. They let others digest their message. The ability to hold silence after your point is made shows strength, patience, and control. It says, "I'm not here to beg for agreement. I'm here to express truth." The best leaders know that influence doesn't come from more words, but from better timing and intentional presence. And then there's emotional mastery, a trait that separates amateurs from professionals and talkers from influencers. When you can stay calm while others lose control, you immediately rise above the noise. Emotionally intelligent communicators know how to balance empathy with reason. They don't suppress their feelings, but they don't let those feelings control their voice either. They respond, they don't react. They think before they speak. Their tone remains steady even when the situation isn't. And that calm tone in chaos becomes a form of leadership. It anchors everyone around them. Authority in communication isn't about arrogance or dominance. It's about ownership. It's about knowing your worth, your message, and your place in conversation. People with authority don't ask for permission to speak. They take their space respectfully. They walk into rooms knowing that they bring value. Their words are not meant to impress, but to express what truly matters. When you have authority, people don't just hear you, they listen. They lean in. Because authority isn't in the tone of your voice. It's in the clarity of your thought and the confidence behind it. Asking better questions is another silent superpower. Leaders who ask powerful, targeted questions demonstrate intelligence without having to prove it. Questions like, what would it take to prevent this from happening again? Or, what data supports this idea? Open minds and push conversations forward. The quality of your questions reflects the quality of your thinking. When you ask the right questions, you guide others toward better answers. It shows that you're not just reacting. You're analyzing, exploring, and leading the conversation with curiosity and purpose. Ending oversharing might sound simple, but it's one of the hardest things to master. Many people ramble because they fear silence or rejection. But the truth is, every unnecessary word weakens your message. When you can make your point directly and stop without softening it or explaining it away, you project immense confidence. It tells your audience that you trust what you've said. Over-explaining reveals insecurity. Brevity radiates assurance. Think of your words like an arrow. Once you've hit the target, there's no need to keep shooting. Your voice is not just sound, it's your identity. It carries your beliefs, your experiences, and your energy. A powerful voice doesn't mean a loud one. It means a voice that's clear, firm, and aligned with your inner certainty. It's a voice that says, I know who I am, and I know what I stand for. That kind of voice doesn't need validation. It doesn't chase applause. It simply is. And people remember that voice long after the words fade, because it felt real. Leadership at its core is not a title or a position. It's a decision. It's the decision to show up differently. It's choosing to bring clarity where there's confusion, calm where there's chaos, and strength where there's uncertainty. It begins not the day you get promoted, but the moment you decide to own your communication. The moment you stop speaking to impress and start speaking with integrity. You become the kind of person others want to follow. So train your voice like a weapon, precise, powerful, and intentional. A weapon isn't dangerous because of its size. It's dangerous because of the hand that wields it with purpose. The same goes for your voice. You can speak softly yet shake the ground if your message carries meaning. Your voice can inspire nations, comfort hearts, and break barriers, but only if you train it. Learn to control your tone, your pauses, and your words like a craftsman shaping steel. Don't use your voice carelessly. Every word you speak builds or destroys something. Confidence, trust, influence, or respect. Use it to build. Sharpen it with purpose. Purpose gives your word direction, and direction gives them power. Without purpose, even the most beautiful words fall flat. But when you speak with intention, when you know why you're saying something, people listen. Your purpose becomes a compass that keeps your message steady even when emotions, noise, and doubt try to pull you off course. A sharp voice doesn't mean harshness. It means clarity. It means cutting through confusion, assumptions, and emotional fog with precision. A sharp voice says less, but means more. Refine it with confidence. Confidence isn't about never feeling fear. It's about not letting fear silence your truth. The more you use your voice, the more refined it becomes. Every conversation, every presentation, every disagreement is a sharpening stone. But many people run from those moments, afraid of judgment or failure. You must do the opposite. Lean into them. Speak even when your hands shake. Over time, the tremble fades, but the power remains. Confidence isn't found in perfection. It's forged in practice. And when your voice grows confident, people don't just hear you, they believe you and protect it from doubt. Doubt is the quiet thief of authority. It sneaks into your tone, your body language, and your rhythm until even strong words sound uncertain. To guard your voice, you must first guard your mind. Be careful whose opinions you let shape you, because they echo through your speech. Silence the inner critic that says, "You're not enough." Every leader once began unsure, but they spoke anyway. Protecting your voice means refusing to let insecurity rewrite your truth. Speak what's real, even if your voice quivers. Every word you speak shapes how the world perceives you. Whether you realize it or not, your words are painting your image every day. In your workplace, relationships, and even in your silence. People don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. When you speak with calm authority, others sense safety. When you speak with clarity, they sense competence. When you speak with kindness, they sense strength. Your voice becomes your personal signature, an invisible reflection of your inner power. So speak as if the world is listening, because it always is. But perhaps more importantly, every word you speak shapes how you perceive yourself. The voice you project becomes the voice you internalize. Speak in doubt, and you'll live in hesitation. Speak with belief, and you'll walk in certainty. That's the secret. Your outer dialogue reinforces your inner world. Every time you speak with conviction, your subconscious learns that you are capable, worthy, and in control. The moment you realize this, your communication stops being performance and becomes identity. You no longer pretend to be confident. You are confident. Leadership doesn't start when the world gives you permission. The world rarely does. It won't hand you a microphone and say, "Now you're ready." True leadership begins in silence, in the moments you decide to believe in your own voice when no one else does. It starts when you choose to stop waiting for approval and start walking in self-trust. Every great leader began by leading themselves first, mastering their reactions, their emotions, and their words before trying to lead anyone else. You don't need a title to be a leader. You need presence, purpose, and courage. It starts the moment you give yourself permission to speak with conviction, clarity, and courage. Conviction gives your words roots. Clarity gives them wings. And courage gives them life. You will never feel completely ready, but readiness is not a feeling. It's a decision. Decide to speak clearly even when you're uncertain. Decide to stand tall even when your voice shakes. Decide to lead even when no one's watching. That single decision to honor your voice is what separates those who influence the world from those who remain unheard in it. Because when your words align with your power, something shifts inside you. Your tone changes. Your presence deepens. You stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. People can sense it. They can feel when your speech comes from truth, not performance. Your words begin to carry an energy that moves others, not because of volume, but because of authenticity. That's what real power sounds like: quiet, steady, unshakable. It's not in shouting louder, but in meaning every syllable. You don't just speak, you lead. Leadership isn't about controlling others. It's about guiding them with the integrity of your voice. It's about using your words to light the path, not to stand above it. When your communication reflects courage and calmness, others naturally follow your rhythm. Your voice becomes a force of alignment, aligning you with your purpose and aligning others with hope. That's where leadership truly begins. Not in titles or recognition, but in the moment your words awaken change within you and around you. So remember this: your voice is not just sound, it's energy. It's the echo of your truth traveling through the air, shaping how the world responds to you. Don't waste it on small talk, gossip, or doubt. Speak to elevate, to inspire, to remind others and yourself that you are made for more. Every word you choose either builds your future or breaks it. Choose words that build. Choose words that move. Choose words that remind you of your power. The world is already filled with noise, endless chatter, meaningless opinions, and voices trying to be louder than one another. Don't add to that noise. Rise above it. Speak less. Mean more. When you talk, let it be with the weight of purpose. When you fall silent, let it be with the strength of intention. There's a difference between silence born of fear and silence born of power. Learn that difference, and you'll never need to raise your voice to be heard again. Some will misunderstand you. Some will mock your tone, your confidence, your change. But that's only because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Keep speaking your truth anyway. The ones meant to hear you will. And when they do, your voice will not just be heard, it will be felt. Leadership isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about standing steady when others waver. Speak with grace, even when they challenge you. That calmness will become your signature. Your voice will carry your name long after you leave the room. Long after your physical presence fades, the echo of your words will linger in hearts, in minds, in memories. That's legacy. That's power. That's leadership. Every great leader was once just a person who chose to speak differently, slower, clearer, stronger. So start now. Start today. Speak as the future version of yourself, the one who already leads with wisdom, courage, and calm. There will be days when your voice trembles. There will be moments when silence feels safer. But remember, the world doesn't need more silence. It needs more truth, and that truth might just come through you. Don't wait for the perfect words. Let honesty be your language. Even in imperfection, sincerity shines brighter than perfection ever could. Speak what is real. The world is starving for real. Every time you open your mouth, you have a choice to complain or to contribute, to echo the noise or to create meaning, the power to influence, to inspire, to shift perspectives. All lies in how you use your words. Speak with the awareness that your voice is a mirror of your soul. Protect it, polish it, and never use it against yourself. The more you speak with intention, the more your inner world begins to match the strength of your outer one. Let your voice be the calm in someone's storm. Let it be the spark that wakes someone from doubt. Let it be the gentle reminder that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it just speaks once clearly and never needs to repeat. That's the kind of voice you're meant to have. One that speaks once and lingers forever. And one day, perhaps years from now, when the noise is quiet and the rush of life is softened, you'll look back and realize something profound. Your leadership was never about commanding others. It was never about being the loudest in the room, the one giving orders, or the one everyone had to notice. It was about commanding yourself, your mind, your emotions, your reactions. It was about learning to stand firm when everything inside you wanted to waver. True leadership, you'll see, begins the moment you learn to govern the chaos within. You'll understand that it was about choosing discipline over impulse, about waking up every day and doing what you said you would do, even when nobody was watching, even when it felt inconvenient, even when you didn't feel like it. Discipline is a quiet engine behind every strong voice. It's what gives consistency to courage and direction to dreams. And when others gave up halfway, your discipline kept you steady, grounded, and unstoppable. That's the invisible backbone of true leadership. Not loud declarations, but quiet perseverance. You'll realize it was about choosing intention over noise. The world is filled with distraction. Everyone talking, everyone shouting, everyone trying to be seen. But you learn to move differently. You learn to pause, to listen, to think before you spoke. You chose to let your words carry meaning rather than volume. Intention turned your speech into guidance. It made your silence powerful and your presence unforgettable. You stopped reacting to the world and started shaping it through thoughtful communication. That's where influence is born. And you'll see that it was about choosing truth over comfort. Because truth, real, raw, inconvenient truth, demands courage. It's easier to please others, to nod along, to blend in with what's popular. But you didn't. You chose honesty, even when it made you stand alone. You learned that peace built on lies crumbles faster than a truth built in pain. That courage, that commitment to authenticity, made your voice unshakable. You became someone who didn't just speak truth, you embodied it. That's what makes a voice eternal. Not the echo of fame, not the noise of applause, but the substance behind the sound. Eternal voices live on because they carried sincerity. Because they didn't just speak, they meant every word. Their tone carried conviction. Their message carried weight. People forget what they heard, but they never forget how a real voice made them feel. Seen, understood, inspired. That's what separates mere echoes from lasting impact. So stand tall, not because you've reached perfection, but because you've grown through every stumble and every silence. Stand tall because your journey wasn't easy, but it was yours. Breathe deep. Let every inhale remind you of how far you've come, and every exhale release the weight of doubt that no longer belongs to you. You've earned your voice, your calm, your strength. It's time to use it. And speak, not to be noticed, but to be understood. Speak softly if you must, but speak truthfully. The goal isn't volume, it's clarity. Don't chase noise, chase meaning. The world doesn't need more sound. It needs more substance. Your voice, when rooted in authenticity, can reach places where authority cannot. It can heal, it can awaken, it can transform. That's your gift, the ability to make words feel alive. Speak, not to fill the silence, but to give it meaning. Because silence is not emptiness. It's space waiting for truth. When you speak with wisdom, your words give shape to that silence. They turn confusion into understanding, darkness into direction. There's power in knowing when to speak and when to let your words rest. Each pause becomes part of your message. That rhythm of voice and stillness is the mark of mastery. And speak, because your words might be the light someone else needs to find their way. You never truly know who is listening, who's on the edge of giving up, who's waiting for a voice of hope to remind them that they still matter. Sometimes your courage to speak becomes someone else's reason to rise. Your strength echoes through others, lighting paths you'll never walk, touching hearts you'll never meet. That's the beauty of genuine communication. It multiplies beyond your sight, because in the end, leadership doesn't begin when the crowd listens. Crowds are temporary. Applause fades. But the strength you've built within, that lasts. Leadership begins the moment you decide your voice is worth hearing, even if no one else agrees yet. The moment you stop shrinking your truth for comfort. The moment you honor your ideas, your values, and your voice as something sacred. That's where it all begins, in that quiet decision to believe in yourself. And once you truly believe that, once you stop waiting for the world to validate your worth and start walking in it, the world will have no choice but to listen. Because real confidence cannot be ignored. It radiates without trying. It doesn't demand attention. It commands it. That's the moment everything changes. Not because you became louder, but because you became aligned. Aligned with truth. Aligned with strength. Aligned with yourself. So go on. Speak with intention, move with purpose, and lead with heart. The world needs more voices like yours. Voices that don't shout but resonate. Voices that don't compete but connect. Voices that don't echo but endure. Because when your words carry honesty and your silence carries peace, You've already become a leader even before anyone calls you one.